Black? Not
Yeah.
Just read the heavy type.
You're on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the heavy type today. Poetry, all kind, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, but we do ask you to respect the mic. Hey, keep our conversations to a whisper. Put the phones on mute or vibrate. Do not distract the speakers.
Do not disturb them neither.
Do
no.
not kick the amplifier in the nose, or pass in front of them, or behind them, or specifically, do not pass through them. Also, keep to the time limit, usually 5 minutes, but we are here in a time warp, and that can
Time
change.
warp too.
That can change.
Hey, Dad,
Remember,
Oh, we already got you.
we have two shows, the 7-ish and the 8:40-ish. Kind of like the 21, you know.
Huh?
Yeah, kind of like the 21 Muni, where you never know when that 840 is going to show up or depart. So I ask for generosity. Give me dollars, give me children.
Since.
Firstborn. By going short, or you can have tall kids too. I'll take them too. It helps to get everyone on the mic at one time. No.
Do it.
If you want to be in the loop, we even upped an email list, a Facebook page, and we stream live if you want to be in the loop, thanks to the natural Mr. Natural. Remember the ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has Margaret Mead.
Margaret Mead.
We have Margaret Mead. Every week we have Margaret Mead. And we will change the world.
She has ankles.
The evening's theme is...
Oh.
Starry night.
Gotcha.
Starry Night.
Starry Night.
Starry
Or
Night.
Vinnie Van Gogh cut his ear off. Starry Night.
got it.
Your choice.
Keynote is Donovan Chapman.
Keynote is
Donovan Chapman.
Don Chapman.
Our last word is Nicholas Soriano.
Nicholas Soriano's the last word.
Our
And
mini feature
Mini feature is-
Mitch.
it's
Mitch.
Mitch. And Mitch will lead us with the bouncing ball.
And our feature is none other than Virginia Barrett.
Virginia Barrett.
In the house.
Is our feature. And next week's feature will be...
Oh, I gotta look on that.
Next week's feature is not listed.
That's not listed. I'm sorry.
Next week's feature is not listed. Or, if not listed doesn't show, we'll get none of the above. They usually come in tandem. Now it's the first show. The keynote will be... We already did that. Well, our feature is... We already did that. Who will give the Queen's wave? I will. As to the second show, if you're still standing, the last word, we gave that. The mini feature, we did that. We have fabulous door prizes.
Beautiful.
We have
Beautiful
door
door
jams, we have
So many
windows,
door prizes.
we have ceilings, we have attics, we have basements.
We have handmade jewelry by our mini feature.
Ooh.
Handmade jewelry by the mini feature. Poets and writers, the most recent, right?
Do it, Dan. Do it,
Most
do it,
recent.
baby.
Most recent. The complete plays of Gilbert and Sullivan, in case you're interested. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, not annotated or revised. Dinah Shore, the 16 most requested songs. Harry Colwell, Mr. Christian, Pure Gold, just in case you're interested.
Yeah, Catholic.
Anthony Adverse, I don't know what he's adverse about, but that's what he says. The Milagro Beanfield War by John Nichols.
Nice.
The Nirvana Blues by John Nichols. Patchwork Kilt by Sally Love Saunders.
Most importantly,
And most importantly, Things That Go Trump in the Night, Poems of Treason and Resistance by Paul Pt1.
You got this.
And,
I heard
Divine
that.
Music. And I don't know anything about it except it is divine.
And we have the regulars.
And we have the regular ongoing things. The
Mini feature, keynote, last
keynote,
word,
last word,
co-pilot.
those things. If you're interested in that, those are prizes also.
Lock them up, Dano.
Huh?
Lock them up, Dano.
Let's book them.
Be advised, although we record the evening. If an audience member wishes to do so, please ask permission, and we will escort you to the bathroom. No. We will assume that you've done so.
Here they
They're here. Denny
They are.
City in the house.
They are the keynotes. The notes of key.
You're ready. Thank you.
What
Here you
timing?
go.
Hey, what timing?
All right. So, without further ado, Donovan, you're up, man. Yeah, right
Are
now.
you ready?
Please welcome our keynote, Donovan Chapman, and Lena, you're on deck. We'll fit him in.
Don't mind me, I'm loud.
You haven't met him yet. You will. Is that perfect for you?
All right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Speak up.
So I'm starting with someone else's poetry, right?
You read somebody else's. You let us know who it is at the end. You got that?
Oh, at the end.
We'll write it down. We have to give them credit.
Okay.
Okay, we'll give this to him.
All right, cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna start with this one.
Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Donovan Chapman, and I'm gonna be reading this poetry.
How old are you, Donovan?
I'm 18, and I go to Skyline. Okay. Sometimes I wonder if he ever felt bad, if he ever reached up my shirt and cut himself on the shards of my broken heart, if he ever realized he was just another unhealthy coping mechanism, if he ever noticed how my lingerie looked more like a lacy spider web I found myself tangled in. He just wanted a quick fuck, so why on earth would he still stick around like the ghost of my bedroom, only coming to haunt me when I'm alone? He liked that I was easy, but eventually he realized my standards mirrored my self-esteem. He liked when I got drunk, but eventually he realized he didn't know me sober. He liked how I didn't need to take care of me, but eventually he realized I didn't take care of myself. Once when we were both too high to lie to each other, he told me that seeing me was one of his bad habits, but it feels so good in the moment that it's almost worth the guilt in the morning. I should probably quit you, but I can never find the willpower to. To him, I am a vice he is not strong enough to overcome. To me, he is like staying up late, drinking too much and smoking a cheap thrill that became perpetual. To me, he is one of the 1,000 ways I self-destruct. I am mostly weak. I mostly want him to come over and get me wasted so I can let him try to fuck the loneliness out of me. But the strongest, most hopeful parts of my soul still think one day we could quit each other, just like all the other bad habits and forms of self-destruction.
And you can announce who that is.
Okay.
You can announce who you're reading to.
Yeah, so these are from I don't know if any of you guys know what Reddit is, but it's a website where people post their own poetry. Or there's a subsection of the forum where people just post their original content poetry. So I was just finding random ones out there. And this one is called Depression Poem number 86.
Turn it up.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little
Old
louder.
men in here, they can't hear. Yeah.
What?
Older men.
I think it's because it's facing me, so I think it's louder than it is. Okay, so where do the poets go after they die and all those lovely lines detach from their bodies? Is there a place where rivers flow in peace and harmony, where every tear once shed can find a place to rest? And all these nagging words, when can I put them to bed? Instead, they toss and turn and run circles in my head.
Cool.
Wow, that was good.
One last one.
All right.
If that's,
Yeah.
this is called How to Write a Poem. Start with a feeling. It's not so much a feeling that you have on your own. It's a manufactured thing, something you claw out of the earth with soft, unfocused hands, as if God will spit gold onto your fingers at random. Call it finding inspiration when you bare your teeth at the sky and demand beauty from it. Finally, find it when the clouds cry in your window with their pitter-pat-pat. Tapping on the glass, whimpering, is this what you wanted? But it's not quite, not exactly. Not that imagined ecstasy in the mind. Look at the rain, shrug, and think to yourself, it'll do. Now take words and lay them out on an operating table. They are stripped and silent, worthless, until you make something of them. Pick the ones you like and toss the rest. Tear them apart letter by letter, by sound, by the taste of them on your tongue. This one too bitter, that one too sweet. And paste them down on poster board like a ransom note to the world. Lay with them, let their blood dry to a paste. The copper of it starts to sting. Rip it up, try it again.
Nice.
take this with you, write down what it was and who wrote it, and then bring that back, okay? Lena, you're up. And Mr. Ehrlichman, you are on deck. David's on deck. If you came in and you want to sign up, please come and see Dan Brady.
Which is me over here in case you don't know it. I don't know it either, but that's another story.
I'm also loud, so.
All right.
Be loud.
Just
We
be
love
loud.
you
Yeah,
loud.
don't hold back.
All right. Hi, everyone. This one is called It's 2019, Confidence is the New Counterculture. What do I write about if I'm not complaining about men? Yeah, I may hate my exes, but I'm seeing someone again, and maybe it's that the sex is like 10 out of 10, but I think there's a correlation between my writer's block and whether or not I'm getting any action. Loneliness is the traction I need, it seems. Single me writes better poetry. Misery loves company, but it accompanies my creativity, stymied by my propensity for getting lovesick. What can I say? I'm a fucking hopeless romantic. And if my validation needs to come from outside sources, at least that forces me to love myself, to trust myself, to shelf this nagging voice that harps on every wrong choice and tells me I'm worthless. And at least I know this: I'm tired of self-hatred. I'm inundated in it. From the everyday bullshit I hear my friends spit, they can't admit they're beautiful without feeling delusional, but self-love is crucial, hence my absolute refusal to participate in this sad boy rhetoric, which, for the record, is completely hegemonic. I'm done self-deprecating. I'd much rather be creating something bigger than the sum of its parts, something louder than the drum of my heartbeats being stuck in my own bed, spicy-ass thoughts filling my own head. So I'll celebrate it, 'cause I'm complicated. But all that means is I got mad depth. I'm the Marianas Trench drenched with shipwrecks. I'm a mess. Too stressed to be blessed, but I'll carry myself like I'm best dressed on this West Coast. I don't boast, I just speak truths. I leak, I ooze. My confidence pours from my pores like I can't lose. Life's not a competition, but if it was, I'd be winning in it. I'm winning it. I act like this is my world and you're all just living in it. I'm not gonna be humble when I look in the mirror and see a 10 out of 10 again and again. Every new door I explore, everything I stand for, everything I speak for reminds me of who I was before and how proud little me would be to see the baddest motherfucker I'd grown up to be. You see, I'm not proud that it took someone else to look at me and help me realize with my own eyes what I really deserve. And now that I know it, I'll take it, reserve it, remake it, preserve it, for when the walls of my world shake with my heartbreak earthquake. Maybe then I'll write better with my pen and his sweater, but I'll weather the storm and I'll refuse to conform to the dominant sadness that plagues this art form. I don't have to be Sylvia Plath to be an empath. I'll feel my feelings, good or bad, with my whole heart and turn around and turn those feelings to my own art. Taciturn is something I'm not, even if most days I don't feel hot. In fact, I hate myself a whole lot. But these thoughts won't have power over me if I refuse to let them take hold of me. Then again, check back in with me when he breaks up with me. But I know that through the bullshit and the strife, the people in your life love you for a reason. So maybe ease in and take a sec to inspect these cards you've been dealt, and for Christ's sake, stop talking shit about yourself. Thank you.
Huh? That's hers.
Who's
Britt,
on
you're
deck?
on deck. Britt's on deck. Let me frame you. Oh, okay.
Don't do that at home. He's a practiced musician. Magician.
That's good.
Institution.
Let me frame you.
I'll straighten up in a minute.
There you are.
It's not my fault. I didn't do anything.
Respect the mic. Listen up.
I like to read before I sleep, and also when awakening. Travelogues or mystic sheaves, field guides of birds among the leaves, specific authors I'll seek out, on carousel or roundabout, apothegms for the taking. They filter through, affect my pen, retracing steps. Remember when? I too, on foot, new species sought, at the ballpark, hardball caught, in the truck, across expanse, the night I held you, while we danced. Fair, Renaissance, time travel played, Bob Dylan, Grateful Dead, sachet, painting shirts, drawing flowers, sketching, I put stretching, but I'm sketching alto sax for hours, 1,000 jazzmen deep at night, take flight in all their power, the smell of jasmine through the night, so sweet at any hour. Call to arms and fingers. You've got to stick your neck out. You've got to take a risk. Intersperse the oil and water with a poetry whisk. Interpolate, accommodate, accelerate the beat. Of course, it will be personal, macro, micro, and replete with anecdotes, outlandish tales, amorphous or specific, coast to coast, a humble boast, Atlantic to Pacific. Your insight and your wisdom share, your pain and your exceptions. Justice, insurrection, bear with freedom of expression. A single language will not do. The multiverse is calling. Now it's plain, it's up to you. You're brilliant and appalling. All of you. Sun shines down on my back door each day. Creek detracts a startled breeze, diverts its course through brush and trees. Cooper's hawk with damaged wing. A small green bee that doesn't sting. Pain that curves. Hedge clean cut. I'm sorry, that was path that curves. Pain curves too. A joke of which I am the butt. Blade extended on a pole, chanterelle amidst leaf mold, flycatcher sallies forth and back, milkweed monarchs will attract, patio patois. Back porch, where this papa invents, assembles, sleight of hand, and poetry meets one-man band. Water, border. Anatomically correct, the bones we resurrect, folded in the crease, tales that never cease. Vestigial at best, at last it's laid to rest. Company we keep, mammals in the deep, sunken in a trench, sitting on park bench, weaving, bereaving, story in a rug, give each child a hug. Bigots falsify identity, they try to pass off by and by. They can't remember why they started this big lie. Time bends when you're around. Sidle into your trough, your feet are underground. You're being far aloft, you stretch the solar plexus, where stars are born at night, on edge, no stress, but I digress, here in invisible light. Then all the stray parts come together, magnetically pulse. I wake up, jigsaw lines disappear, bones and tendons, tendons and bones. 11, then 12 base numbers system, hours distended, seepage commence. I melt, reassemble as a bob, 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 and trundle off to work. Answering phones, taking pledges, digging jazz at KCSM. Hello, can I take your pledge, please? Hello, can I take your pledge, please? Hello, can I take your pledge? Okay.
Yeah.
Am I done? I got 1 minute, 30 seconds. A shorty?
Very, very short.
Okay.
Thank you.
Real short.
Yes.
If I can catch cold by not chasing hot, temperature might manage.
Grit, you're up. Donovan, you are on deck. On deck.
The people who are standing up, there's a couple of chairs here. Okay, just let me make sure. Let me drop my clock.
Also got any chairs, folders back here. If you want, anyone want to fold a chair?
All right.
Are you ready, Britt?
Yes.
All right, Britt.
Just,
Peter, give him a round of applause. I like doing that.
just a dream. Hey, don't stop this dream. We're saving people from the latest flood. We're stopping another war. We're tossing the Trump pack out and voting again every day. But as Big Bill said, strum, strum, it's just a dream. And the alarm clock is screaming.
Ooh.
Tonight's theme, Starry Night. A night visit to Alpy Beach, pebbles and a carpet of stars, silence and wave lap. I got on my bike and rode away from there. 2. The immensity of the universe does not make us small. I'm tired of that being said. Focus, distance, a carpet of stars, the immensity of the universe, a stirring of curiosity. Are you diminished by that? 3. Sky buckets in his own eyes, M13, the silver moil, the rivers and estuaries of our Milky Way after rigorous conversation, time to look through the eyepiece or walk at night through a barren Grecian field. Jack said, yes, yes, and wow.
Wow.
Ways of seeing. The cold wind has brought clear nights. The Pleiades, a smudge of light. Curious deer waiting to be seen. The Pleiades, the necklace, the question mark through a scope's window. Loud tonight. The light from each sister infusing the entire cluster. 4. The bear, Orion, the twins, take up huge chunks of sky. The Pleiades whisper from their far corner. We got one more. Lost. Okay, and the final Starry Night poem, The Roar, the supersonic rush of a black hole, a waterfall in Norway, the chill of distance, the spray out there is stars.
Donovan, you're up. Lister George, you're on deck.
Well, George Lister had his name reversed.
Oh, okay. George Lister. My apologies.
No,
Is our did he get here yet? Is Nicholas here yet? Is he coming? Come on.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, so my name is Donovan Chapman, and this is a poem called Chapman.
Louder. You can do it.
Not often I find myself wringing my brain for drops of your memory, twisting, compressing my head, searching for pictures and figures, perusing the cracks and crevices of my mind, going back in time for some things you had said, wisps of life before you were dead. When you died, I never found out how, why. I cried, but it didn't take long for those tears to dry, and it wasn't pride or something stupid like that. It's just you were gone for so long, I began to even forget your name. My last one's Chapman, and I got it from Mom. I didn't take yours. You didn't want to pass down the name of a man you had no biological tie to. You were lied to, and so you tried to make it right to the pride you lost. I took the last name of my mom, and I'll cherish it long after your death. And I'll relish in that name I got to evade till my last breath. And I do admit that things must have turned for the best, because for a name, Donovan Dortmund is fucking ugly. Now, Donovan Chapman, that shit's lovely. And so I wrote this one while I was laying down with my... no, and I'm gonna just read it, alright?
Don't explain yourself.
I like to... I'm with you. Fly 6 feet beneath the moon. I like to lay... But do we even need to face the truth? I've got all I need right next to you. Can't these emotions be the proof that I have all I need, and all I need is you? So I can do another one?
Please.
This one is called Poetry. It never used to hit me so hard, the fact that after I die there's nothing and no one, and I can't even comprehend what that would be like. But that was when we were wrapped in one another, entangled, enchanted by lies we both knew would one day float up to the surface. We were desperately drowning in sedated deceit, a feat from which only foolish lovers wouldn't retreat, a feat only they would dare to attempt. 'Cause now I only hold you in contempt. After the end, you're not my friend. I can't even pretend I'm sad. What's sad is how little I think of you, not in frequency, but in size. God, you're so small to me, but what does that make me to me when for so long all I could do was just be a reflection of you, until you had to be the bigger woman and break it off? This is about to end. I'm like continuing. Are you a better person than me? God, I hope not. It never used to hit me so hard, but these days the sun rays aren't as warm as they used to be. These days that phrase, I love you, sounds so empty. Back then those words were plenty, but in hindsight there was such little meaning, if any. And I should have saved those words for my mom. It never used to hit me so hard, the fact that after I die there's nothing and no one, and what happens when mom is gone? And what about my wild friends? It'll all soon fade behind the curtain, and now I live with only these certainties, mine and your own mortality, and a need to write some poetry.
Thank you. George, you're up. Antoinette, you're on deck.
The wonderful George Lister, known throughout the universe as
Storyteller.
George Lister.
The neighbor.
Thank you. Neighbor. Goes by that. I'd love to do that for you.
Thanks.
Anytime.
This is called Heart Language. The poems are the language of my heart. Sometimes happy and light, sometimes heavy and still, sometimes broken. Always beating the rhythm of our life. Be with me, quiet and peaceful. Let my words embrace you like a breeze, like a storm, always touching, always loving. Now for something very different. The draft. Greetings. The dreaded letter arrives 1 month to the day after the last class in my unremarkable college career. Come to this building on Broad Street, North Philly on a hot summer day 3 weeks hence, so we can decide if you're healthy and smart enough to send you on your way to serve your country. 200 men wanting to be anywhere else on the planet except Vietnam line up outside an ugly building that's made to take boys not long from their mother's wombs and spin them into wild-eyed killers, ready to get themselves blown away in a bullshit war that has nothing to do with life as we know it. Bullneck, short, loudmouth, sergeant, bright red face, tiny wisps of hair this way and that on his scalp and under his Adam's apple, which bobs up and down whenever he yells, which he does all the time. Flexing his muscles under his short sleeve army shirt, shows off badges and stripes. 1 word, he says, and you'll be in Vietnam tomorrow. 200 men in a room taking a smart, dumb, 100-question test. 16 right answers to pass. 2 men flunk. A tall, fancy black preening in his dude hat and an angry-looking white Wharton School grad, both smart enough to get 85 answers wrong. Bullneck's face turns crimson as he holds them in front of the room. You're taking that test again. You fail this time. You're in Vietnam tomorrow. Vietnam stretched out to sound like V-et-nam. Worse than prison, worse than a chain gang in the heat of a southern summer, sun beating down, crying for water. Worse than waterboarding or fingernails pulled out or beatings. Vietnam, like the curse from hell, it really is. 200 men line up. Doctors check mouths, balls, assholes. Spend 3 minutes with each man, send them on their way to get their mouths shot off, balls blown up by bouncing betties, assholes rammed with bamboo spikes. Any reason you shouldn't be in this man's army, son? Like he cares about my future? Yes, sir. I give him my magic doctor note. Chronic, he says. Well, we'll see how you are in a year. 1 month later, the letter arrives. You're deferred for 1 year. Be prepared to return when called 1 year from this date. I get on with life, vanished from the chaos of a war with no end. Soldiers and sailors coming and going, some in bags, some living and Agent Orange poison, like my friend Michael. All changed forever. Never heard, didn't miss it. Thank you. The Traveler. It floated from the sky where it had been resting peacefully like another moon. I had seen it for weeks through the fog and haze of a wildfire summer. It was a messenger telling us to look up, to try to make sense of losing the stars and planets. I know they're still there because my mind's eye travels to the highest peaks, free from the breath of man. The sky sparkles like diamonds, and I'm traveling through the Sierra, lying on the ground, covering myself with a blanket of twinkling lights. Perhaps when we make sense of the life of the earth, we will begin to care for her in a way that lets her breathe, that lets her see through a clear eye and return to her rightful place in the sisterhood of the sky. I can no longer hope, but must speak to take me to the day. I look on the beach where it has fallen, smaller and much heavier than I would imagine, wounded from its travels through the universe. The message is inside. When the time is right, it will open.
Excellent.
Antoinette, you're up. Buford, you're on deck.
All right, Antoinette Payne.
I wrote this yesterday. Families flee in murky, fog-filled nights. Tenuous, authentic dangers collide. Coastlines, rising waters, drowned children. Asylum seekers fall from crowded skiffs, capsized to ocean's floor, unfulfilled futures frozen. Quakes rumble desert sands to landmass islands, polars marooned in Arctic tundras, weary and confused. Oblivious, wide divide, income equality. Some wake to treadmill with no hope, affluent live in fear of loss. Perceived as crucial to governance, entrusted power, rulers lie, cheat, torment, kill, declare with pounding fists superiority exists. Vivid monsters emerge from river's edge, composed of 90% water held together by wet threads. Zombies walk with survivors while ruler antagonists devise storm-worthy agendas to displace anyone without their arbitrary levels of acceptable wealth. First to leave tent cities under freeways, fold themselves in small squares kept in municipalities' wallet. Economic fallout. A man comes out of Precipice Lake, last seen wearing mega hat and blue jeans, listens for sirens' call to murdered souls, addicted monsters, aligned with messenger. He's told to take up arms, weapons of choice rain down like manna, AK-47s, heavy metal breaking bone without fire, bludgeoned skulls, broken rifles fall useless, society stirs. Love thy neighbor carries memo of peace and joy, God-filled, God-gifted, accepted, then gifted again. Abundance preached, scarcity lays dormant. A woman draped in seaweed rises from Skeleton Lake, lonely frozen pond 1,600 feet above sea level. On warm days, hundreds of human bones emerge, crawling out through rock slides and migrating ice. They are our problems resolved. Fragmented humanity, collected and petrified, made amends, offered apologies, pray, chant, go to therapy. History remains unchanged, yet memories washed clean give guidance as inclusion snowballs big as the world. And then in honor of our theme, star constellation in O lover, screams find Halloween, make it right where wolves flee in rustling leaves this starry night. Tears bubble up under tiny, left the baby before anything could be said, just gone in deep, dark blue oceans, solid water breaking emergence. An attendant to needs not her own, basks in solitary's reprieve, still stuffing laments.
Buford, you're up. Owen, you are on deck.
David Bunton.
Please talk about pissing me off. Okay. Just pissing me off. There you go, sir.
This is called McLean.
Ah.
Don McLean sings Starry, Starry Night for you and me and a few million other people. I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. He beautifully crooned. It wasn't. This is called Your Language. Why do you need to learn English? You can speak whatever language and dialect you wish. I want you to. People come into this, quote, democracy with its, quote, arrogant Bill of Rights put together by a bunch of white men, most of, if not everyone, a slave owner. Even though that can't be completely trusted, it's better than no Bill of Rights at all. Anyway, the, quote, huddled masses, unquote, come and bring their various differences. Life could be worse than not complete intelligibility. That's what my daughter says. This is called Book Conscious Baseball Life. Practical girlfriend telling it like it is. Baseball everyday giants are in town, except when work precludes it. Sitting on her sofa, writing and drinking coffee, scribbling out my life. Operation probably necessary. School year ended. Resting as much as I can. Life so full, especially of change. All the old comes back. All the old comes back to me. When I get together with you, I am who I am. And while this is new, it reminds me of how my past has created the face of my present. Janet Jackson singing about love, my love for you real. Both working into our late 60s, Janet having a baby at 50 years old, the rhythm of all of our hearts. All right, let's see, what's the next one? How much time I got left? 2. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I can do one or 2. All of them go about 2, if that. There. That's all right, thank you though. This is a quote from Dido, who I fortunately got to see sing about 5 or 6 months ago. I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life, Dido sang. What do I care where the bed is, as long as I'm in it with you? What is it to me, as long as I'm warm in your arms, resting with what's right, my or your singular freedom, or being together each night? When I was a little poorer than I am now, thank God I'm not quite this poor anymore, but this is called Glide. The beginning or perhaps end of emphysema, standing in line for food, a gruff cough accompanying a gruff life, Riviera Hotel daily, weekly, color TV, close to the corner of Ellis, garbage truck with an impossible job, keeping the sidewalks almost clean, an Irish accent, a red and black shawl, keeping a head warm at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Excuse me. not quite to the corner, stomachs growling, groceries, liquor, beer, wine, a sign noting that everybody in this line can't afford except at the first of the month, perhaps. Ellis and Jones repavement in the middle of the street. Man lying with his head underneath his wheelchair on Ellis at half block above Glide. Food and some religious salvation of the depressed, ravaged tenderloin.
To be able to live to hear Button Buford quote Dido, I think I can die now. You're up, and Yasmin, you're on deck. And our last word has arrived.
There are chairs up here for people who are just arriving.
There's chairs here, there's a table here. Chair here too.
Right over here in case people want to sit.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Before I begin, I have some checkbooks for sale.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, this is my latest poem. It's called On Memory. The day wears on, and I, the forgetful one, sitting. My memory is, and I remember back. I should have remembered back my slack, and alas, alack, I remember not, but in time. The chimes I bought, flying and forgetting the time of day. I hurry out. This poem should rhyme, but there is no reason. This is the summertime season. The sun shines over the library in the park, where I sit puzzled and perplexed over the usual records and romance and groping. Next time, I take no chance. This is my own book, On Tights I Outcry. Rhymes and verse of humanity and its foibles. Life, the bliss of the quotidian. I read my own book. Panis Angelicus, Hart Crane gave me a lift. Clary-Hoo come sonnet. A day like all days fills me with sullen thrills hour after hour. I sit and wonder. Fit, hot, and heavy, the day fills me with clay and spit, the wished-for words and song. I want more sauce and service. I am glad and sad, oh, it cannot be as bad as it appears to be. So bad as my schemes and dreams, the more I want to take, the less. Library Opus to Page Street. Stacks of books, sci-fi, and more are high sitting there on the shelves of love and serenity. It is 12 o'clock in my mind. Oh, I try to believe in being and nothingness. The death of Peter Fonda, a dance of doing nothing and something. Believe in something, go at nothing. Scatter your thoughts to the wind as though they were meant for roses and lilies. Well said I am, eine kleine. I am bent. 2 short poems. There is a pimple that moaned into the dark. Being with Aaron was like writing speeches for Nixon. James Liddy, a memoir. James Liddy was a creative writing instructor I took 2 classes from at San Francisco State way back in '68. He was a native of Ireland, County Roscommon, a poet and a barrister. He held classes in a small cottage on Waller Street in the Haight.
He liked my work and we became friends. He was honest in his criticism of my poetry. "Oh no, Wally, they're an ego trip," he would say of some rivals. Stan Rice, the late Stan Rice, was one of his rivals. "I was a pale goblet stem of a boy, a pale goblet stem of a boy indeed." Decadent rubbish, Wally. He was honest with me considering my poetry. "That was bad, Wally," he said of one of my poems that tried to be mystical in an Eliot-esque way, but ended up being vague and semi-nonsensical. On the death of a poet, Ronald Sauer, for Rebecca. "Death, oh that death, you have died, you have passed us all, passed us on the way to Valhalla. Ronnie, Ronnie, your ego outstripped the muses, but you took chances, chances that a poem would save you. It took you to glory, it took you to where you belonged, somewhere, somehow. On the way, a metaphor, a rose on your grave, a metaphor your night." Bones. Times the chimes were fed, differences, diligences, schemes, and dreams capsize our enemies. We are headed home to our mothers, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles, around about our dead dark sun.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
See him about the book and his book at the break. You have some of those with you?
What? Yeah, I have some books.
Okay, all right.
Yasmin, you're up, and Tommy Abakolameka, you're on deck.
Tommy, have a good look. Yasmin, give her a nice round.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She needs to be
Welcome
framed.
back, Dan. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
They did a great job. Okay, a place you love can also become a place that you hate. So I'm sure you've experienced that. Glimpses of India from the novel. She saw a tattered metropolis with streaking lanes sunk deep underwater, which accumulated after the monsoon and lapped at jarred iron sheets, fencing the disintegrated tenements. Water which seeped through the gutters, scattering decayed mango cores to the hovering crows, their shrill cries drowning the noise of the traffic. The slums spread everywhere, black tufts which spread over the city in unsymmetrical stitches, indigo stains crisscrossing over the pastel spaces of the parks. Slum dwellers settled themselves under the palm trees until they too were chopped to make room for cement structures. The palms lay on the ground, gentle reminders of a colonial era which planted trees like foundation stones at national monuments. Umri groped for those reminders of her Bombay, the Bombay she had known. She revisited the places which had once lulled her like the goddess Circe. But Circe now served a different potion from the one she had known. It was not an aphrodisiac, but poison. She followed the trains into the belly of the city. The train she had sat in day after day, holding the iron rails on the windows, watching the houses, the palms, the beaches fly by, running her fingers against the drops of rain dropping on the iron rails. She walked to the ticket window of the train station. Beggars nudged her as she took back the change from buying her ticket. Beggars lined the entry to the station, their white bandages visible in the dark shadows caused by local commuters. Old women sat on the steps she climbed. They sat in the way of the passengers on their way to the trains. They dared the passengers to pass by without dropping a paisa into the clanking begging bowls. And little boy hawkers hollered. They screamed. They cried. She saw them disperse sometimes, even the ones without legs, when they were lathi charged by the railroad police. But the beggars returned. They always returned. Within an hour, within two, they returned, echoing in pleading voices. "Ma," they cried, "only you can save us. Give us a paisa." She remembered the subways in Philadelphia, the subways she had to take throughout the winter. Inside the compartment, she had seen no colors, only the gray coats that the passengers wore and the white snow outside. She had deliberately bought herself a maroon winter coat. insisting that gulmohar blossoms could sprout even in dry soil. But she had missed the colors of the saris, of tikas, of earrings. She would return someday to those colors in the train compartments of Bombay. On the trains in Bombay, the colors blinded her. Women crowded into the second-class compartments, pushing back the hair from the sweaty faces, their cotton blouses damp under their armpits as they held onto the rails above their heads. They stood in the entryway, fighting for the wind against their faces, fighting the new passengers coming into the compartments each time the train stopped. They pushed the little boy hawkers who held onto cardboard boxes. They pushed blind men who had mastered their entry into the women's compartments. Women on their way to work pushed other women with infants in their arms. They shouted at the mothers, "Why don't you use the trains after peak hours? You have all day to ride the trains. We have only 1 hour to get to work." The mothers shouted back, "We are working too. Everyone has to work here. This is Bombay."
Tommy Avagola, Dan Brady on deck, and after him will be the Cursive Rider.
And then our feature of the evening.
Yes, I'll let you do that.
A new species of blood-sucking leeches was recently discovered outside D.C. Scientists believe the little critters fled the nation's capital when another species of leeches and their leader, who calls himself the Chosen One, moved there 3 years ago. "We may suck blood," a member of the new leech species said, "but they just plain suck." It's true that they did discover a new, anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The rest of it I made up. You probably couldn't tell that, right?
No,
Just wait.
Hard to tell.
Just wait.
So, this is recollection of my childhood. We were very, very poor in South Philly. In the heat of summer, in that holed house on Bainbridge Street, I couldn't fall asleep without first pulling a cover up over my head, praying it didn't slip off during the night. Didn't matter how hot I got in my small room without a fan. I knew a sheet was the only thing that made me safe enough to close my eyes. Going to the bathroom was not an option. It was something I learned from my brother, that a simple sheet was enough to protect me from roaches crawling into my mouth or ear while I slept.
Ooh.
And to tonight's theme, the starry night, the full moon, the thick summer air stuck to my skin. Didn't matter. Nothing mattered. He pulled up in front of my building and I couldn't think of anything but him. Up the 4 flights to my apartment, we stopped to let hands and tongues explore. We didn't need words. Time took a long, deep breath, finally exhaling as he lay cuddled against me, asleep in the dark. In the morning, he left his dreams behind. I still have them. Thank you. And finally, after 12 years of Catholic school torture, which is many, many years behind me, I still sometimes wake up in the middle of the night from nightmares. And this happened in the last week where I woke up one night and I reached over to my laptop that was lying by the bed and I started typing this. Sister, you told Mama I was retarded. I was 5. I spoke a language of my own, a mix of English and Italian. You couldn't understand me. You had no tolerance for children who weren't like the others. Maybe you were the retarded one. 2. Sister, you told Mama I acted too much like a girl. You said if she didn't do something, she'd one day be ashamed to have me as a son. But Mama was never ashamed of me, even after I came out. You're the one who should be ashamed. 3. Sister, it was never me. I didn't know that then. I wish I had. I would have been spared these scars. You tried, but you couldn't destroy me. I wouldn't let you. Now, I flaunt my queerness. I laugh at gender binary. I speak in tongues. I dance on your grave.
And our host with the most is up. If anyone came in later and wants to sign up, please come up to the table and sign up. And if you can't, there's some chairs here, so if you're in the doorway and you want to sit down, come on in. Okay.
I don't bite much.
And Cursive, you're on deck.
Yeah, Cursive, you're on deck. Well, I'm sorry to be here because I'm going to read something I wrote, and that's my fault.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Thank you. Okay, so as we have such a new crew of individuals, so I'm going to offer advisements, and I'm apologizing ahead of time. Shh. Thank you. Title is What Words Can Do. Why have I chosen the solitude of what I call the invisible life? The miracles of which pass unseen, the evidence of which is strife. Of course, nature has sympathy with my cause and its effect, for the world is ever loving and sublime, or so my hopes expect. Now, to the ordinary or common eye's view, life's road is easy to envision. One manages the simple wants and plots a course of temporal acquisition. But mystic eyes see beyond that veil, and so I'm free, not held in its thrall. For in this life I do wax ecstatic whenever my soul is touched by glory with all. Such events are likened to the sun for all their showering warmth of love, and I am wrapped in a fold of considerations I can't truly speak well of. Be curious then, and comb words such as these, and you might seek that place where a love by which your soul may take wing has joy presume thy face. It surpasses all understanding and the varied delights of this redolent world by far. It's found in the pursuit of the Spirit's inspirational mind. It's as bright as any star. It shines fast in the depths of peace, sounds the soul and holds all life dear, is enamored of all things human, provides us insight both perfect and clear. So now, A or B?
A.
I should have figured out which was which before I did that.
So this is optimism because the world has plenty of other non-optimistic things, and this is really, truly optimistic. As a friend of mine, Carlos, this is Carlos right here. He passed away several years back, but he used to come. And this was written with him in mind, but he had already passed away. So I say worlds for Carlos. Oh, my friends, there are worlds, and good ones. Beautiful worlds, so wondrous and full of marvels as to make one weep. There are worlds where peace is all there is. Nature is let to run rampant. The verge is rank with skies and seas full of life. Animals who can see your soul's light with hearts
innocent of fear or rage. There are worlds gowned in clouds of delight, graced with rivers of love, where ranges upon ranges of emotional peace rest under the glowing countenance of their moons dancing in the firmament. Worlds such as songs are made of, epic poems might suit, where painters upon an overlook could gaze at a life's work set before them. Where God is happy, life tame, and where we'd be glad to be, were we there instead of where we are, dazed and confused by our own earthly illusions. I say, forsake fight and flight, let go of want, our past, histories of unending sorrows, poor reasoning, and martial drums. For there are worlds, this poor scribbler asserts, no artist could hope to convey without a proper preparation. A long, restful life of enjoyment. A million-year picnic. Then they could provide a semblance of one such world. So it is that I tell you, this is a magnificent universe, well made and fit for who but us? Well, or those of our kind. It is like the mystical Ganges with its endless beaches, where each glowing sand grain is a full repository of galaxies strung like beads set in a glowing firmament of stardust. So, there are worlds. And then there's us, and our longing, our song, so profoundly deep and unending that even this grand universe and all of its works couldn't possibly contain it. Or so I feel. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I think we got the cursive writer and David Erkelman. Ladies and gentlemen, don't try this at home.
If they are professionals.
Try what?
Or try.
What? Try what? What are we supposed to be trying if we can't do it?
You're trying me, or my patience, I don't know which. I'll get back to you on that.
Am I looking dry?
Yeah, we got you captured.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right arm, dead straight out of state.
Just don't mind. David always blocks himself.
I know.
Oh, that's okay.
We like
I have
He
to
wants
see
to see.
him.
He wants to see.
I have to see what he's
He
doing
wants
on
to
the
see
page.
this. He wants to see
Got
the
it.
shit.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, get this thing started.
Roll.
As I always say, just because you steal something, it doesn't mean it's yours. This is still Indian country, and you live on a lonely land. All right. Again, that fork in the road. We're at the fork of the road again, but some say too late. Warning given from poets, writers, artists, indigenous people, scientists. Not heard. Hearts break fighting for some joy, safety for those families, those loved for their humanity, grieving for those who lost theirs. Sirens ride winds, sending out warnings given daily. We no longer hear, gone deaf. New now messages written all in caps to see before our blinders shut. Now messages written, maybe this isn't a positive, but it's what I see. It's not what I choose, but what's before me. Answers. All want answers, but never enough to hear them. It's Homo sapiens who must answer Mother Earth, has never been the other way around. She sees, feels your persistence, getting a fever about the fight off beast trying to kill her. She's looking for the antibiotic. Perhaps what's left of the human beings will be that antibiotic. We'll band together, finding our salt as an India united against empires forbidding them to make it. They made salt, did it non-violently. United India. Si pueda, people united will never be defeated. Unite, stand, rise against rulers who kill us for profits. Stand united in our survival. This is our salt. This is the sacred. Stand, make salt together before empires. may stop writing. Seems sometimes no point. Who listens to poets, writers? If all artists, writers, dancers stopped, would many notice? Movies still made with blow-ups, everything technically done with no heart, intellect and writing, art, music. There are exceptions always to this rule. Meanwhile, open mics have poets listening to each other, nodding in approval, saying nothing, assuming to know where the piece is going. When 5 minutes are up, polite, ruckus, or no applause. Don't let gestures, fools, poets be heard. Remember the last time they were listened to? Protest, disruptions, damn near did USA in. Much learned since then. As many went home, their bodies were no longer in jeopardy. Empire pits working class against artists. New cry, go home where you came from. Yeah, including those who say it. Then indigenous people might get their homes back. When will a group of Homo sapiens learn we live together on one planet and nobody will rule for long? Maybe I will keep still and write. Finally, Exodus. From first Exodus, ancient times, flora, fauna, all our relations left original homes, known from ages. Most widely New Agers take wealthy monies for nice, serene spaces, places all over Indian land, never noticing ghosts of living dead. Here they will imbibe peace, love, tranquility. Enlightenment cost money, commodified wisdom, New Age spin, not so wise after all. Wisdom of ages given by ancestors, elders who serve the living. New Agers serve themselves like black robes, judges. Peoples flee rising waters, fires, wars created by empires, killing, eating resources. Exodus! Blood, oil spills from the mouths, eating, defecating appetites never satiated. Exodus or die, the new motto. There is a kind of anger where every muscle in the face moves, spasms like snakes trying to break through skin. Anger rises, spurns the lie as it escapes to do what it must to rest. Kind of anger that could easily but never invokes violence, but scares even dead people through dead eyes. Like most empires, spreading carnage breeds carnage. Repress populace, make them fear. USA, there are those who have never feared you, and those who will fear you no more. Rise!
David?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're saying, why is he up here again like that? Well, I'm going to introduce the feature of the evening, and it's one of my favorite times because I get to brag on somebody unmercifully before their very eyes. And they will not tell the lampshade story, nor the caboose story, so don't worry about those two things. The electric eel I might have done, but you know. See, he remembers the electric eel. I still have scars. No, I'll put all this, I'm just joking. Here we go. Virginia Barrett is our feature of the evening. She is a noted San Francisco poet and artist. This is from what I've gathered over the time that I've known. She was the editor of Feather Floating on Water, Poems for Our Children. That's correct. I'm going to make sure of that. It's a great collection of poetry, and she has been visiting, doing poets in the school. Were you a poet in the school from that particular program, or you do a different program?
I was lots of programs.
Okay,
Yeah.
Various programs, bringing poetry to the elementary and high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I had that clarified, because it's a broader brush, and she has been in classrooms and witnessing the powerful effect that poetry has, or the bringing of poetry to individuals who may not know that much about it. Every person is a poet, they just don't know it. She's integral to the Jambu Press, that's the name, right? and which is working on the upcoming collection of a Ferlinghetti Tribute anthology. And he has approved of this himself, so it's actually really going to happen. And it's in mid-process for that. She's a visual artist, and some people here may recall that she hosted Sacred's open mic at her studio in the Haight when they were rebuilding this wall and rebuilding the floor back there because, I don't know why, the health company came through some darn thing, or earthquake proofing. But for about 5-6 weeks, we were at her studio and we were reading the poetry there, and there was a nice potluck and it was beautiful.
And you
Lovely.
probably hit your head.
I did hit my head, at least once. So she is a wonderful poet, a talented artist, and she's going to come up here and demonstrate those descriptive actions before your very eyes. Give her a wonderful round of applause as I adjust this mic for her.
I like having this here now. I can sound great. Okay, make sure this good, and you gotta go right into-
on it.
Right on it, or else
I think
they.
that's good.
Yeah. All right.
How's the sound? Everyone hear me?
What'd you say?
What'd you say?
It's good.
A little louder.
It's too loud?
No, louder.
Louder.
Yeah.
I want it louder.
We like to
How's
hear it.
that?
That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan, for that lovely intro, and thank you all for being here. What a great group. To clarify a little bit about the poetry, Bobby Coleman, who's here, who's the managing editor of Jambu Press.
Okay.
He also was an integral part of a program that we did with the main public library here in San Francisco called We Are All Poets. And we went into schools and gave free poetry workshops for kids. And then we had a culminating event for students that were selected. However, because we couldn't have 300 students on the stage, we did need to select like 30, but we wanted everyone to feel as if they were a poet, because we are all poets deep inside. So everyone received a Youth Poet Laureate certificate for writing a poem. So it was a really sweet program. Things, there's never any funding really available, and but we're hoping to bring it back. So, you know anybody who's about to write their will, you tell them to put it in We Are All Poets. Well, I was just at the SF Mime Troupe with Tommy, you were there, and they made the announcement that the way they got through this last year, because they've lost their NEA funding, right, is that someone put them in their will, which is really amazing. So, right? Do I have that story right? Okay, good. So, you never know. So I'm going to read from my 2 most recent books, and I do have copies for sale here.
Good.
Crossing Hate from 2018 and Between Looking, which is 2019, so just came out at the beginning of the summer. Thank you. It's fun to be here. I actually received my MFA from University of San Francisco, right up the hill, and now I'm teaching there. So I feel, and they hosted some monthly reading here for the MFA and undergrad students, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is it both programs?
so, yeah.
So Crossing Hate, very close here in the neighborhood. I did have a studio, don't have it anymore, but a lot of these poems came out of my time hanging out at my studio, which was on Stanyon at between Oak and Page. Two wooden mannequins, cityscape. We bent our limbs into every awkward angle, often breaking them. What is the stroke of the stick burning, the charcoal smudged? We read the secret codes of workers on the sidewalks, the X's and dots of our lives. Disorder is an ordering, but sometimes calls the cat to the broken blinds. Do you remember what it's like to write even one love letter? I miss the sound of crickets outside your window. We are never winnowing now, but bury our faces in the decaying shapes. How many times have I been towed because I didn't think I had to pay attention to signs? Why always this longing for a home, the weft of want under and over our spacious human loom. Once I drew bright pictures with pastels of all the mythic animals migrating in your eyes. Okay, this is actually more over in the neighborhood where I live, Church Street. Walking alone late night. And this starts with an epigraph by Homero Aritis, who's a Greek-Mexican poet. The poem spins over the head of a man in circles, close now, now far. And in this case, it's spinning over the head of a woman. Walking alone late night on church, covered in a light fog, I pause at the all-night donut shop on 24th and imagine my body in it, like a hopper figure under the bright bulbs, an immortal form refusing the ordinary hours of sleep. My lover is distressed whenever I go out alone in the dark. He wants me protected from the hazards of the street, from all I might unfortunately meet. But I am a stubborn specter, acquainted with haunting love and fear. The mistiness is refreshing on my face, and this need for solitude is only a hunger, contemptuous of company. These nighthawk words are waiting, slouched on a parking meter like a couple of drunks, gathered like a flock of cops, entwined in the air like the ineluctable scent of jasmine. I forgot to ask, what's the time for the featured reader?
A 20-minute block is yours, my dear.
Okay, so at like 10, shade 10, and then 5.
Okay, I will do that.
If you don't mind, I didn't mean to give you orders.
No, that's okay. I'll go like this when I see your, I'll give you a signal.
Yeah. Let's go over to the De Young Museum. I've spent a lot of time in the park there. Taking flight. A mother is running to catch the bus that stops at the art museum. She is really running down the wide sidewalk, passing by the sign of a girl with a pearl earring. Her unbuttoned trench coat flutters out on either side of her like khaki wings. She clutches the hand of her little girl, sprinting too with all her might as she must, propelled by the needs of her mother who wants this bus so badly. Reacting with a kind of animal screech, the small being in pink leaps, suspended for a second off the ground, now nearly close to taking flight, as if this is actually what the mother wants to teach her to do, like two swans running over water, achieving air. Raise your hand if you've ever run like a maniac for a bus. One time I was running for a bus just like that. And I get on and I'm like sweating and my purse is flying out, and the bus driver, he was so cool. He had on like this beret and black gloves, and he just looked at me and he said, "Ma'am, never run for a bus." I said, good advice. So it's Whitman's 200th birthday anniversary, May 31st, but still 2019.
Yeah.
Walt Whitman, go. And I'm in Gemini too. If he's born May 31st, he's Gemini because my birthday's June 7th, so I can pretend I have that with him. Yeah, we can own that. I'm not going to read every little section of this because it's very Whitman-esque in that it goes on and on and on. But it's totally written in his style and in honor of him. However, it is titled, "I Celebrate a San Francisco Weekend with Whitman." My reverie runs forth My eyes look to the immeasurable sky. I embrace the sun, my brother of heat and light, and the clouds are my imaginings flowing, going, gathering, evolving, revolving into forms, measures, and the whole of humanity. Striding by the city's houses painted bright, body, gaudy colors of whimsy and play, where the red-orange bridge spans the bay and the sun-stroked gold undulations of the headlands beckon to yearn. Where the fog, a sleek mountain lion, leaps over the gate of the wide Pacific, the sea lions bark and dive, resurface as bobbing heads that shine, and the gulls swoop their choreography of waves. Where the young man sleeping in the park keeps a little black kitten leashed in front of the stone-step library on page, tied to the wheel of an overturned skateboard, tattered backpack, and the heady smell of herb. Where the flowers rise in bright abundance are planted and replanted on the green lawn by the conservatory, glass ghost of haunted botany, Victorian harbinger of heat and fecundity. Where the grove spreads its sacred stones of remembrance to the friends fallen, and redwoods rain their soft needles down, thin tears of time and dying leaves drift and settle. Walking the ancient trail of the Ohlone with the voice of the native divine by my side, the feeling, the flow of Mission Creek deep under my feet in the days boats could row up from the bay. All this I drink, the great gulps of place. It fills me, it swims inside as mine. I am the woman I loved, I longed willingly, I journeyed. I have always been here. Thank you. Oh. So I was talking about working with children with the poetry, and there were times when I would go in. Bobby was sometimes with me. We also worked with Lynn Davidson, who's the head of the children's department at the main library, an incredible woman. If you ever go into the children's library, you'll probably find her there doing her sacred work. So we had times when we went into schools and the students had never been given any poetry. And I've actually had this experience teaching art in schools where the students were absolutely terrified. Terrified to draw an oval to make a face. Terrified to put even one word on the paper. And sometimes that, because they don't get it enough in school, so it was fearful. So sometimes, one time I remember, but it happened more than once, a child started crying before they even, and then once they finally got the word starting, it just became magic, but there was the crying. And this is in the style of Diane DePrima, if anyone knows her rant poems. Rant, for the child too scared to write a poem. You are not the girl crying. You are not the boy with his face buried in the ragged plush toy. You carry the basket of words lurking in the shadows, the traveler never bored. Everything is unfolding. Everything is always waiting to be found. Everything is always held in your hands from the hollow of everything. You have the power to urge a flower to unfurl. You have the power to emerge as a dragon. You have the power to stir a lion's whisper. Make a word, Rossum. Take the ride to find your fascination. In each idea a raft, constructed for the infinite river. Enter the water of light. On your way you will meet no one, everyone, yourself. The trail you leave is your poem, the star chart of your imagined sky. See how it all shines. And that poem was dedicated to Lynn Davidson, who helped us out so much with the program. Okay, so that was from Crossing Hate, San Francisco poems. But this book, Between Looking, that just came out was actually my MFA thesis. So that was really thrilling to have the book published. And this also does have quite a few San Francisco poems, and since I'm kind of on a San Francisco thing, here's one that happened just on hate and coal. Mid-June. I leave Goodwill with a book for you. On hate and coal, a guy sings Cat Stevens, his old guitar plugged into a small amplifier. I linger to catch the chorus, then walk toward the library on page to see if poetic memory is waiting for me. It's after 3 p.m. and the wind is picking up. I can feel the fog creep its way over the park, as I could always sense snow coming when I was a girl. Vermont has nothing to say to this West Coast weather. Seasons so vague they end up being one continuous wave. A taste carried you back 4 decades this morning, eating whitefish for breakfast. Grandma Gussie offering you the same in Yiddish at her Brooklyn table when you were a kid. 2 generations nearly gone. I mourned my mother most in winter. Anybody else from Vermont in here? Anybody been to Vermont? Well, yay!
It was cold.
Yes.
It's green.
But it's very green.
Yeah, it is.
Here's one from my grandmother, who was Georgian. My mother's from Georgia. My family's actually from Virginia, hence the name. But I grew up in Vermont. My grandmother, Mimi, we called her, was very, very religious, first Methodist and then a Baptist, and she scared me when I was a kid. Because she would sometimes just say, Virginia, have you accepted Jesus yet as your Savior? And I had no idea what she was talking about. But she was a lovely woman and a real forerunner, is that the right word, in natural health, eating naturally, and she called herself a health nut, and she really affected a lot of her grandchildren, all of us trying to take care of ourselves. Still Life with Stone. And this comes from, who knows Devorah Major? One of our San Francisco. Yeah. This comes from, I went to a workshop with her, and we all had to bring something that was sacred to us, and she brought this lovely stone. And she told a story about how her father had just died, and the stone reminded her. So this poem actually came out of the workshop, which was sponsored by poets and writers. Still Life with Stone. Her obsidian stone grows warm in my hand. The story she tells of her father, now past, who noticed in his last years new miracles, small flowers unfurling. The stone makes no sound, but recalls all the rock grounding us, or the pebble hawk carried in his mouth, the myth of how the great mountain came to be. I sense Santorini's volcanic black sand beach hot under my tanned body before death became a word I even spoke. Before the idea of holding a stone in your palm to feel it gather your own fragile heat could be understood in the open palm of wanting the fortune teller to embellish the lines. One dawn, my grandmother simply stopped breathing. After the doctor said her lungs were black. I've told this story before. She never smoked. just like to sit on the back steps by the driveway, watching birds peck for seeds and grit in the gravel. Who likes Marley's redemption song? Yeah. Oops, sorry, I just yelled. All right, so this was written actually in Seattle. We're out of San Francisco, we're in Seattle. Woo! Woo! So here are the quotes from from Redemption Song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley. Pike Place Market, Seattle. Busker with guitar. Plump white peach, its juice dripping from my mouth as I eat on the crowded cobblestone street. Stop still as always anywhere by this song. Today beside a mob of peonies, so bold they appear ready to erupt from their bouquets into riots of pink redemption. Only $10 for a small bunch, but I'm too broke to buy anything else. And besides, such brilliance seems quickly fated to die. Just another tourist. I toss a crumpled buck into the guitar's empty case as the busker sings, "How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look?" Okay, we'll wrap it up here. So your theme tonight is stars?
Starry Night. Starry Night.
Oh, well, okay. I'll do a little riff on that. Where are you?
Right there.
This is called Star List as soon as it appears. Here we go. This came out of actually a prompt as a student to describe something without actually saying it, and so you have to just let your mind just totally go and make free associations. And so this was Star List, stars, and you can just say like stop because there's a bunch of them. Star List. So we have to imagine these are stars, but I'm not saying stars. Whitman's perfect silence in the moist night air. A ship's high guides, a vaudeville show, the sparkling shawl of the sun, thoughts of the solar system burning, glitter of the cosmos spilled, luminous dots to connect for design, scattered seeds of farmer angels, sprinkles on midnight ice cream, the coyotes hunting eyes, the planets playing with pointer lights. Thank you. Solar system disco ball.
Thank you. Good.
What's for you, Tommy? And then let them know who else is coming up.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I've been advised. So we're going to take like a 5-minute, 4-minute break. Just letting you know that one of the traditions, long-term traditions, even before I was here, which is a long time ago now, but that's another story. Not as good as the eel story, however. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Many of the people who read in the first half, they went a little short or sometimes substantially short, so we appreciate that so everybody gets on. We have Nicholas as the last word. Where's Nicholas? Okay, Nicholas, you start and end the second show. And then Mitch is the mini feature. Will you give a warning of Mitch is the mini feature? And then we'll come back in about 5 or 4 or 2 or 1 or 553,745 minutes. Of course, you won't want to stay that long. That's a couple of years. No, it's not. It's like 5 weeks. Anyway, my math skills are not renowned. So take a break. See the people with books. We have several people here like that. Virginia has books, and then also Owen has a couple, so take a look at that. Say hello to each other, schmooze, and we shall return in due course, or in front of the microphone.